going on, guys? This is Harv with Harv's Corner. Today we're going to go over the Eco Empires Roman mod. So this mod is something that I actually run in the PvE server that I'm currently playing on, and I figured it'd be an awesome time to take a look at what it has to offer. Eco's Roman mod is a pretty simple mod, adds a little bit of structures, adds a little bit of crafting, a nice little stylized mod that's really clean and gives you a little bit more of a primitive feel, Roman feel to your buildings, to your structures, and a little bit to your crafting as well. So I'm sporting one of the cool little Roman helmets. It's a skin that you can add on to any helmet, but we'll go over all that later on. So let's get out of this. So we're going to kind of work our way in a horseshoe shape and kind of go around here and explain how all this stuff works. But we're going to start from here and work all the way around. So we're going to start with this guy. If you're familiar with any of Eco's mods, they usually have some sort of crafting table, and this is it. So there's two other things that you make on your person. That are essentially crafting stations that you're going to make from your person, but this is the main one to make most of the buildings, which like the tents and some of the lights and the walls, things like that. So the regular Eco crafting table looks like this, and you'll be able to craft in general most of the basic, the storage structures, the tents, the walls, and some other things in there. We'll go over all of those things in this review as well. So these two stations here are one complete. This is one big structure, and this is one entire structure. And those two are also crafted on your person as well, but we'll go over them. So this first one is the Roman smithy. Don't confuse this with a regular smithy. It doesn't do everything that a normal smithy does. It only does stuff for the Roman mod, which is a little bit of a bummer, but with the way the other tents work out, and you can build stuff inside of here, you can probably squeeze a smithy in here and it'll probably look just fine. The other thing to note, as how the barrel isn't touching the ground here, and you might see that on a couple of these others. That's because I'm not building on completely level ground, which the mod is pretty forgiving about placing it on unlevel ground, but you'll notice little gaps if you don't. What I did on my PvE server is actually I sunk thatch foundations and then kind of placed them on top of them so they still look level, but yeah, you get creative with it. You can make it work. But anyway, the smithy is going to craft your armor and your weapons. It's pretty straightforward, right? So you have 3 different helmet skins that you can make. We have the sword, we have a spear that you can actually throw, we have a shield, we have costumes for the equus, the chariot, and the banner, which is a costume for the equus. These are saddles. These aren't costumes. I correct myself here. So you can make 2 different versions of those saddles, and then you can make the ascendant versions of those saddles from the crafting station as well. So that's pretty neat. But that's what the smithy is going to do for you. So over here, the column of the tent, we're going to check the inventory on this. Here you're going to make a lot of your kitchen style crafting things, as well as the Roman cup, the Roman bowl, and we'll go over all those things as well. They're all going to be in here. But again, just about the same size, and these 3 things are things that you're going to craft on your person. Everything else gets crafted from these 3 things. So starting off with the tents, we have 3 tents here. You have this small tent, regular size tent, you have this tent, and this tent here. So this is your peds, I don't know, not my tent. Anyway, so this is just the normal tent, and you can place the bed in here. There's a bed that matches it, and that's over on the other side. We'll go over it. But it's a normal tent. You can pick any of these things up and place them back down. So this is the Optio tent, which is basically a step up. And as you can see, it's got like a little effects here scattered around, and it works like a bed. That's what all these 3 tents do. They work as beds, and you can lay on them. You can use them as respawn points. You can pick them up, place them back down. Yeah, like you would a normal bed. They just look bigger and they look cooler. A lot cooler, right? So the Centurion tent is significantly bigger. You have 2 ways in and out. You can go through the right and left side. It's a bit wider and more things in here. You got a little table on this side. The bed's bigger. There's a lot of little effects, a lot of little additions scattered around inside the tent. And again, they're spawn points. You can put stuff inside here that you could normally place on the ground in here if you wanted to, but you're not doing any significant additions putting in here. And none of these tents like snap to each other or place to each other, but they place really well next to each other, so you can kind of make them look like they're connected even though they're not really. So the last tent is the meeting tent, and this is the big tent that you can actually place things inside of. Anything that can normally be placed on the ground would be in here, but this is what I was talking about earlier about sinking foundations and then placing these on top. If you're trying to make, like, I don't know, you want to put like a smithy or a forge or cooking station or something, things that you would normally have to place on foundations, you can sink them so they're just at ground level, place this tent down on top of it, and then still place those in there. But these tents, again, they all work the same way. You can pick them up, and you have a big huge room. I mean, it's pretty decent sized room in here. So those are all the tents. My only criticism, and really it's more nitpicking than anything else. I just wish there was more tents, honestly. They look beautiful, they look wonderful, they render great. There's no problems with them. I've never seen them act up on me, at least not yet. And aesthetically, they look awesome. But that's what you should expect from any of Eco's mods. They're always clean, they're always beautiful, and really fun to use and play around with. But yeah, those are the tents. I wish there was more. Hopefully we'll see more in the future, but that's what we got for right now. So stepping over here, a couple of little accent pieces that you can place. You have the little Roman banner. You have a small torch lantern and a tall torch lantern, and these are always on. You don't need to fuel them; they just work. You can play again. You can pick any of this stuff up and then put it back down. The wall sections. This is actually 2 palisade walls, and you can actually they don't snap together, but they place, like as you can see, they place next to each other very well, and they look good, and they're reasonably tall. I mean, these are like 3 walls tall. I think combining these with maybe wooden spike walls would give you a pretty cool feel for like a military campish sort of look, if that's what you're going for. But they look cool. They wall things off. Yeah. This is the bed that matches the tent. The name that I seem to be slaughtering, Peds? Peds? I don't know. Somebody's bed. Ain't my bed. But that's the bed that you can actually place that bed. It fits right here inside this tent, which I think was clearly done on purpose, but you can place them on the ground or place them however you would with any normal bed. You have your regular storage box. These are the 2 storage boxes you have. You have your regular storage box, which is the 75 slot storage box, and then you have the 125 large storage box, which has a lot of the cool accent pieces in there. Moving on down, we have the Roman long table, which it's everything minus what's on top of it. That's it. So it's a pretty long, pretty narrow. Well, it's really not that narrow. It's a pretty decorative table. Really cool for interior decorating, or you can place stuff on top of it, so that works out too. The things that I have on top of the table, we can run through those real quick too. So the bowl and the cup, which were, we saw those crafted in the colonna, or in the smithy rather, or not the smithy, the colonna tent. You place these, but I found out that you actually can interact with them, and they have a slot on them. Pretty neat. So I'll talk to you about how to craft some of the consumables that are in here, but just so you have an understanding, they have 1 slot in them. If I look at the storage, if I look at the spoil timer on this one wine, you see it's a little over a day on my person. But if I throw it in here, it goes to 5 days. So it multiplies the spoil rate by 5, or it increases the spoil time by 5, which is incredibly useful to have laying around. And the same thing works here. So I have like cooked fish that has a day on it, and I throw it in here, and now it's got 5 days on it. So these are cool to have laying around, and they still serve a purpose. They work like little mini preserving bins all on their own, which is pretty neat. The fancy cooked bird is actually a structure that you can make, craft it, and we'll talk about where you craft it at. But you craft it, and again, you can store stuff in it just like you would the other 2, but it just looks cool. This is aesthetics. It looks neat. It looks like a featherlight. I think that's what it is. Yeah, it's a featherlight body. That was murdered, I guess. So it looks super cool. It does. It's definitely a status symbol, I think. Definitely a cool centerpiece and your interior stuff. Here we have the large seat, and next to it we have the small seat, or they're just normal seat rather, is what I should say. So this is the Roman square table, just the normal, basically the same theme as the long table, but just shorter. The food storage bins, these work as preserving bins, believe it or not. So you can't make necessarily jerky out of them, but they store things. So there's a lot of stuff in here, and I'll show you why that's all in here in a minute. But just for a comparison, so let's say these azul berries are like, you got about 2 hours before one of them spoils, and then not quite halfway down through the spoil timer. So let's grab them, right? And let's put them in a preserving bin. That was a little over 2 hours, right? I put them in a preserving bin, it's only an hour. It's less than an hour. So these barrels actually keep your stuff longer than the preserving bins do. So you're still probably going to need a preserving bin for making jerky. So it's not like obsolete or anything with this mod, but it's definitely an alternative. Plus the storage rate. This is an S Plus with 50 slots, and the barrels have 100. So a lot of your minor stuff you can store in here and just use this for making jerky, and that's it. Going over to the mixing table, this is where you're going to make some of your basic drinks and your basic foods. So you can make two different types of wine, and they pretty much kind of work like the beer and normal SE. And you can also make the mixed fruit, which is just combining berries and seeds. The thing to remember with these guys, and I'll craft one, is the spoil time. You get 2 for 1 when you make these mixed fruits, and the spoil time is fantastic. That's a day just on its own, and they don't weigh anything. Like, these are definitely better than carrying berries around. I use these, I carry them around all the time with me on my PvP server just because they don't weigh anything. They're easy to make, and yeah, and they replenish your food, so it's perfect for that. Going to the grinding mill, this is just grinding resources down to basically put in the grill to make some better stuff. So you can grind crystal down to make fresh salt, you can grind some seeds down to make spices, and you can grind fiber down to make barley. You use those basically for recipes for this grill. Pay attention when you do this though, because when you turn the crystal into salt, the salt has a spoil timer. When you make spice or make barley, they have spoil time. So you make a big batch of them, remember to come back and grab them and throw them in this barrel, or have a barrel, you know, right nearby just in case. So the grill works like a normal grill. It will cook regular meat if you just throw it in there, throw wood or thatch or whatever and turn it on. It'll work just fine. The other things that it makes the barley bread, it makes a barley gruel, it makes salted fish, and the cooked fancy bird that we saw on the table earlier. These things, like I said, they require a lot of the stuff from the grinding mill that we talked about, the grinding table. And you can also make like a salted fish that lasts even longer as well. This is treated as a structure. The fancy cooked bird, it doesn't have like a spoil timer because it's treated like a structure. The hard part about this one is, you read it right, it does require golden Hesperornis eggs. Hesperornis? I always slaughter that one too. The golden eggs, the only thing that has golden eggs in this game. Is so you need those to make this thing too. Couple things to note with these crafting stations. If they say they require water, like the mixing table, like if we go over to like one of the wines, it says it requires MR berries and water. Let me see more in here just so I can show you. Oh yeah, I got plenty of them in here. So pay attention, both of these water jars are completely full. There's no way to irrigate this stuff, at least not that I'm aware of, but it's a nice little trick. I don't know if it was done on purpose, but I love it. If I start making wine, the water level on the jars has not gone down at all. I've had one full water jar in my mixing table on my server, and it's never ran out of water. So you don't have to worry about constantly throwing water into these things to make any of the recipes. The same can be said about this guy, because I think you need water to make, yeah, you need water to make the barley gruel in the grill. The water doesn't go down, so as long as you don't use something that leaks over time, like a water skin, a water jar or a canteen full of water tossed in these guys will basically make it permanently irrigated for you. So that's a super, it makes the little things easier. So my criticisms, again, it would just be me nitpicking. I wish that the grinding wheel maybe worked kind of like a mini grinder, like normally, like maybe grind stone to flint or wood to thatch and things like that. But outside of that, that's really it. Maybe it would be nice to have the mixing table be able to do other stuff too, but I mean, that would kind of eliminate the reasons to have all the other stuff too. This isn't a one-stop shop mod, and I don't think it was made like, I don't think it was aimed to be that so much as an addition. And it's really cool. It themes really well. It looks great with some of the other building materials in Ark, so a lot of the thatch, wood, stone structures, I think it looks really good with. Alright, so a few things to go over, and we're going to talk about the horses next. I love the Equus. I'm a huge fan of the Equus in Ark. I loved it ever since it came out. It's versatile, it's useful, and they look cool. Eco made them better. Made them better by giving them these cool armor, these cool saddles. So they work like normal saddles. When you put them on, you get access to all the normal stuff you would get from an Equus. And they work like a mortar and pestle as well. If you're not familiar, the Equus with a saddle on it works as a mortar and pestle. These guys do too, even with the saddle on. Now there's two different variants of the saddle. You have the normal Optio saddle and then the Centurion saddle. So the Optio, really the only difference that you're looking at is the lack of like that little chest armor piece and then this little butt armor piece back here. I think that's really kind of it, what you're looking at. But the saddles look great, man. They look fantastic. I like the little Roman additions. The hair, the manes on the horses look better. I just, really cool. Really cool. I'm not sure how a horse, I know horses drop big shits, but that's like the size of its butt. That's, are you gonna watch what you're eating, man? Anyway, that's the saddles. Now the costume, the banner is actually added to the costume slot, and that's right here. So you can just add that to the costume slot, and that's how you take it on and off. So it makes the horses look cooler. They look better, right? And if you're a fan of the horses, you're gonna like this mod because they look awesome with them on there. I can't wait. I still don't have a horse yet on my PvE server, and it's bumming me out. Like, I really want to get one so that I can make these cool armors and put them on. Last but not least is the chariot decor. Now, this is decor in capitals. This is decoration. You can't ride it. You can't do anything else with it. You can't really interact with it. You can stand up in here, and I think I kind of have this on a low ground. But yeah, you can like stand up in here if you want to. Maybe get a bunch of these and reenact some Ben-Hur scenes. I don't know, but they look awesome. And aesthetically, it looks cool, right? Like parked by one of the tents would look great if you're making like maybe something that looks like a stable or something like that. Having the regular horses plus these guys mixed in, I think would look really neat. Awesome decoration. It looks like they kind of have the same little armored chest piece that the Centurion saddle does. All in all, it looks beautiful. Absolutely looks beautiful. I'm not even sure even if it was rideable, exactly how you would make it work. But it looks gorgeous. I love it. Looks absolutely gorgeous. Everything in here does. I've had the opportunity to mess with a good amount of Ecos mods, and I've never been let down by any of them. They've always been clean. They've always been unique. You're not going to see this stuff on any other Eco mod. Like, none of it's duplicated. It's always unique. It's always clean. It's always well done, and it's reliable. Like, I've never had any problems with. I've never logged in one day and all my eco structures were gone. You know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty reliable mod. Eco is a very active mod creator and maintaining the mods that they put out as well. This is, all in all, this is an awesome mod. I would recommend it for anybody running a more primitive feel for the servers. Anybody looking to do more of a primitive stuff to it. I think this is a really good addition. If you're running the old Primitive Plus mods or the Primitive Plus version to the game, I think this is a really cool addition to that as well. If you're running any of the castle, like the Castle Keeps and Fortresses, or the Castle, what is it, the Castle, yeah, there's two of them. There's two of them that float around, but the Castle and Keeps mods, I think that would work really well to them as well. And even just on its own, it gives you a little bit of themey goodness. I like it because it's not big and it's smaller, and you could add a couple of these different Empire mods into a game and have different tribes around the server almost acting as independent nations and themed and styled different ways. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all we have to offer here. If you liked what you saw, please like, please subscribe, please throw me a comment if I missed something. I don't believe that I did. I lied. I missed the weapons. Here's the spear. So we'll go over that real quick. So the spear works a normal spear and you can chuck it. You have the sword, which is kind of like a gladius thing. Then you have a Roman shield, which I toggle to orbit so you can see. So you have a big tower shield here. And we'll unequip this so I can show you the helmets as well. So I am wearing the Optio helmet. This is the Petas, somebody's helmet. Back over here. So that's a regular, that's the standard helmet. What am I call that? I'm not gonna call it Peds. And this is the Centurion helmet. So, you know, kind of the sideways flare going on. But that's it. I apologize. But that's it for the mod. Really isn't too much else going on. But again, if you like what you saw, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's another mod that maybe you guys wanna see done or seen playing with. I'm always interested to see what the community wants to see, and maybe it's a mod I've never heard of and I want to be interested in it. I might try it out, want to use it myself. So let's spread that knowledge around. We'll have a link to the workshop. We'll have a link in the description for you so you'll have it. We'll also throw in a couple things. If you're interested in joining a PvE server, I'm actually using this mod on my PvE server starting on the island, and I'm going to work my way progressively through all of the official ARC maps, not with official settings, but through the official maps. So it's from the island to Scorched Earth to Aberration to Extinction and eventually to Genesis. But if you're interested in playing on a map that's using this mod, we're using one on the island right now. So we'll have a Discord link on there as well if you're interested in joining that. That's it, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Till next time.